Hello everyone. We appreciate your participation in today's webinar. My name is Devdatta De and I'll be hosting this wonderful session on getting started with React.js. This webinar is presented to you by Codersarts. So Codersarts, we are an edtech company. We are based in Noida. Our main aim is to help students and freshers as well as working professionals achieve their goals, that is technical goals, through a range of services. We offer programming assignment help. We offer live one-on-one mentorship. We have various training courses. Then we offer job support services, project-based mentorship, and we also offer interview preparation services as well. Now, I would like to mention one more thing. So after this webinar, at the end of this webinar, you have to fill up a Google form, after which you will get the certificate of participation. Now, this webinar is going to be an interesting one. So make sure you have your pen and paper ready with you, because in this webinar, we will be covering these following topics. So first, we will be learning about React.js, what React.js actually is. Then why you should learn React.js. Third, we are going to learn about reasons to learn React.js. Fourth is how to get started with React.js, and after we cover this part, how to get started with React.js, we will be Aftan will be helping you create a counter project with the help of React.js. So I can assure you that by the end of this session, you will have a solid understanding of what React.js actually is, and I hope you'll be able to start building your own applications as well. Also, I would like to mention one more thing. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of this webinar, so you can clarify your doubts there as well. Now, without further ado, let's proceed to the main event. Today, Mr. Aftan Ahmed, he's a stack developer at Codersarts. He will be guiding you today with how you can get started with React.js. So, Aftan sir, over to you.
Thank you, Devdatta. My name is Aftan, and I'm a full stack developer. Over 3 years of experience in Codersarts, and I've built countless applications in full stack and related to web development. So I'll be guiding you in this webinar and helping you understand React.js better. So let's understand what React.js is. Let me just share my screen. So I hope it's visible, right?
Yes, it's visible. It's visible.
Okay. So we are getting started with React.js, and this webinar is hosted by Codersarts. So you all know that. So first of all, let's understand what React.js is. Let's focus on this logo. This logo is very unique, and itself it tells us many things about React.js. So you can see this is a logo of an atom. Atom means which constantly in movement, right? So I'm not teaching you science, but just giving you idea of their intelligence, that how they chose their logo. So it tells us that how reactive React.js is. Reactive means it is a dynamic way of building web applications. So you can think of it as a like the symbol of reactiveness. So let's understand React.js better by this sentence, because React.js is a JavaScript library built and maintained by Meta, formerly Facebook. So React.js is a JavaScript library. Now you have to focus on this sentence where it says JavaScript is a library. Oh, React.js is a JavaScript library, and JavaScript is a programming language that we use in normal web application development as well. Like when you build a normal application, when you want to make your application dynamic, let's say if you want to do some action on a button click. So that at that time you also use JavaScript. So by the help of that JavaScript, uh, React.js team has built this amazing library, React.js, and this is built by Meta, which is Facebook, and they have changed their name now, so it is Meta now. So they built this to help their applications behave more faster. Like you may have used their products like WhatsApp, uh, Facebook, and other messenger apps. So they have used React.js in that to make it faster, to behave faster. So that gives a user experience better. That gives better user experience. So that's why they have used it. And JavaScript library is nothing but a collection of JavaScript files and template files that we use to build software. So library is nothing but a collection of files written in JavaScript. So it is JavaScript library. If it is a Java library, so it will be written in Java. So that is basically a library to build a software. Now another sentence which tells us about that it is used to create single page applications. So single page application, before understanding this term single page application, we need to understand what is a multi-page application. A multi-page application is nothing in which we use multiple HTML files. I'm guessing that you know basic HTML to like jump over this React.js webinar. You know the basic web development stuff like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it will be better to understand this React.js webinar. So multi-page application is nothing but an application which is written with the help of HTML, and it contains more than one HTML files. Let's say if you want to create, let's say Amazon website. So it might have a products page, products.html. You will write a products.html file, and in that you will list all the products. Let's say it also has another page called aboutus.html. So in that you will write another aboutus.html file, and then you will link that to home.html, where you will show landing page of that, right? So similarly, a multi-page application contains more than one HTML file. But in the world of React.js, it is opposite. We only use single HTML file, and in that, with the help of JavaScript, because it is a JavaScript library, with the help of JavaScript in the background, it changes the DOM. Now, I mentioned this DOM word. This is nothing but a like a group of objects in JavaScript that resembles all the HTML components we have in a normal HTML file. Let's say we have head tag in the HTML, we have a body tag. All this is contained in an object that is called DOM in JavaScript. So React.js manipulates that DOM by just mimicking that DOM with the help of virtual DOM. That is another topic. That is a very deep thing. We will not discuss that because we're just understanding or we are just getting started. So I don't want you to overwhelm with all those hard topics. We're just understanding what React.js does. So it changes one HTML file content in multiple places. Let's say if you want to create Amazon website, the same example. So we'll not create multiple HTML pages in the earlier case which we did in the HTML. Like we created about us.html, we created products.html, and then home.html. Then we linked all of them together. No, we are not doing that in React.js. We are just using one index.html file, and we are creating separate components for that one single page. That is called UI components. What is a UI component? What are UI components? So basically UI components are nothing but a different piece of HTML code. So if like, let's say if you want to use navbar in all the pages, so you'll not copy paste the same thing like you do in HTML, and in all the pages you paste all the code of navbar in all the HTML pages. We'll not do that in here. We'll just simply create a component, and we'll just call that simple component in the pages which we want to add. But that pages will not be an HTML page, that will be a JavaScript page. We'll simply create, or we'll definitely working in the practical, we'll be understanding all these things practically. You just need to understand that React.js only uses single HTML page and changes the components in there. So that is what single page application uh, library is. And by the help of this single page mechanism, it creates faster and efficient websites. So the wheel which you see in the browser, when we move to different pages, if it is built with, let's say, if it is built with multi-page mechanism, then it will not, then it will rotate the page if you are like changing the routes. But in the React.js, it will not rotate that way. I'll give you the practical overview when we'll be working practically. So by this way, React.js is scalable and easy to develop. It is a very simple library. It is even not a framework. That's why it is very easy to learn. If you know better JavaScript, then you can easily, understand React.js. So that is the case. And now the Thor is saying that I want to know why. So why should you learn JavaScript? The thing is, there are many reasons to learn JavaScript. React.js basically. So if you know JavaScript, then you can easily understand React.js. The first thing is easy to learn. React.js is nothing a rocket science. You can easily learn this. If you know JavaScript well, I'm again stressing the sentence. Less development time. It is a library, so it doesn't have many other features. Like it doesn't come with built-in routing feature. Will not talk about that. That's why it is just a UI component library. So we just build different UI components and then we create single page applications. So it is very easy to develop and it takes less time to develop application in React.js if we compare to other like JavaScript frameworks like Angular or Vue.js. They are very heavy frameworks. So it also takes more time in that than in this React.js. So that's why we can easily develop application and it takes less time in React.js to build any single page application. Also, it has a huge community support. It has become popular in these days, so you don't have to worry about if you stuck anywhere. Like if you don't know some topic or related to React.js, if you don't know something, you can just Google it, and there will be many people that will be who will be helping you out because it has a vast majority of people who are learning this React.js, and they have good community support, and also Facebook also makes changes in that in React.js. It constantly upgrades React.js to become more better. So that's why it has a good support and good community. So you can learn React.js without a doubt. You can never like stuck in this React.js if you learn this. And it is free and open source. Nobody's charging you anything, and open source means you can take their code and you can make changes in that, and you can also contribute to their code, and you can make React.js more better with the help of your knowledge and past experience. So this is it. And performance and reusability. Performance means it is very fast, as we saw that it is used. It uses single page application mechanism, so it is very faster in that, and it is less in size. That's why it has a good performance. And reusability, as it uses UI components, we build components in that. We don't create multiple HTML pages, so we can use single component in multiple JavaScript pages. So that helps in that. We don't have to write same code again and again for a single UI feature or single UI component. Right. So these are some reasons to learn React.js. It is a great library. You can learn that. So let's see what are the companies that are using React.js. Facebook, obviously, because it is the library of theirs. That's why they're using. And Instagram, which you nowadays use, Airbnb, WhatsApp, Netflix, and Uber Eats. Also, there are other companies. I didn't listed them out. But these are some major companies that rely on React.js. Their major part of their application is built with the help of React.js. Also, if you learn React.js well, you can build mobile applications as well if you switch to React Native, which is similar to React.js, but it builds mobile applications, not the web application. We can also build that. That is another issue. we can build that. But that is mainly used for mobile applications. You can also use it for iOS and Android applications. So I'm talking about React Native now, not React.js. That's why. So how to get started with React.js? How we can get started with React.js? It is very easy to start with React.js. We just need to install some of things. Then we can go to then we are good to go to write React.js application. First, we just need to install Node.js on our machine. What is Node.js now? Look, JavaScript library, we mentioned that. So React.js is a JavaScript library, and a JavaScript programming language cannot be run outside the browser. But we can run that, but there is a workaround there. And that workaround is this Node.js. JavaScript is not like other programming languages, like we have Java, we have Python. So in the case of Java and Python, we cannot execute it without any compiler, right? Or an interpreter. So without that, we cannot run the code of those programming languages in our local machine. Similarly, JavaScript cannot be executed, JavaScript code cannot be executed outside the browser. If you want to build application in your local machine, you just need to make your machine understand JavaScript, right? So that part will handle Node.js. Node.js will provide an environment to JavaScript libraries or frameworks. So we can run Angular code because that is also a JavaScript uh, framework. Similarly, we can run React.js code as well because that is also a JavaScript library. So we can simply run JavaScript in our computer with the help of Node.js. That's why we are installing this. And then we have to choose an editor, which is VS Code in my case. So why am I using it? Because it is very good and it has many features that can help you develop React.js application faster. And you can also choose other editor or any other IDE. Editor is just basically the thing where you will write code. So it is a software where you will write code for React.js. So you can choose any editor you like. But I will go with VS Code because it is popular and it has many features that supports development. Then these are steps. We'll be definitely working on all of these steps practically. I'll be showing you more of this practical in a practical manner. Don't have to worry about it. We are just getting an overview of this theory, that how we can get started with React.js, right? So we can open the terminal in that. After choosing an editor or an IDE, inside that we can open a terminal, or you can separately open the terminal with the help of CMD, or if you're using Linux, so you can use terminal inside that. And in the directory, you can just write this command called npx create react app, and then you can provide the name of your application that you want to build. So it is any name that you can provide. So let's say in my case, I'm using example app, so you can use the same in your case as well. But it is up to you. You can name it anything. Then you can just write npm start and your application will be running on localhost 3000. That is a default port that you have to type. This complete address you have to type in browser, then your application will be visible to you. So I think it's finished now. Let's do some action, and we can go to the website first. The website is the Node.js. So I've already installed it. I'm just showing you the website that you want to, that you have to go in here. And there are two versions here, 19.8.1, which is a current version, and this 18.15.0 LTS. Uh, Whatever LTS is, so it is a stable version, so you can use this one and you can install that. And then installation is very easy. I'm not telling you how to install a software. You can just click next, 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 and that will be installed. The thing you need to Google is that how you can add an environment variable, but I think that is also provided in the latest editions. So it automatically gives you the command, which is npm. Npm is a command that npm will be a package that will be using to install packages for React.js in case you want to add some extra packages in React.js, right? So you can use any of the version. This is not a stable version. Whenever you see this even number here in the node version, like 1.8 or 1.6, 1.4, 1.2, or like 12, you can say. So that is a stable version. Or if it is having this LTS, so you can think of it as a long-term support. It is LTS, so long-term support, because it is very stable. So that's why you can install this software or this version of Node.js. So installation is easy. I'm not guiding you through that. Otherwise, it will take much time. After installing Node.js in your computer, then you can choose your VS Code editor. You can go to Visual Studio Code website. You can just write VS Code in the browser, and then the first website will be code.visualstudio.com. You can see the interface will be like this, and it has many features. So I can create a separate webinar for this whole like software or this editor. You can install it for Windows or any other machine that you have, for macOS, Linux, or any other you are having. After the installation, you will be good to go with this software. You can open this in this editor, and then inside that you can go to the directory. So I have this icon here. So this, if you click on this icon, so it will open the interface, but I'll not be doing that. I'll just be going into the directory in which I want to work. So basically, I want to work in this project directory. So I'll be going inside this directory. You can also go inside your directory, and I can click on this. I can right click and click on this open with code. So this shortcut will be available after your installation, after you install Visual Studio Code in your computer. Otherwise, you can directly go in Visual Studio Code, and there will be an option, like you can see, there will be an option of file, and you can click on that. Then you can open directory, and then you can select your directory. I'll be doing it directly, so I can click on here and open with code. You can see that open with code. So that directory will be opened inside Visual Studio Code, and now we can uh, just see the interface here. And if you want to open separate directory, you can simply click on this file icon and this file option, and then after that there will be option of opening a folder. You can select that, and then you can choose another folder that you want to open. Right. So inside that, you can see this terminal is already available to me. If it is not available to you, what you can do is, okay, guess we want it. What you can do is you can click on this empty space and right click here, and there will be an option of open in integrated terminal. Or otherwise, you can click on this terminal option, then that will also open that. Open an integrated terminal. You can click on that. Then after that, the command which we saw here, this command, npx create react app, and then the app name which you want to create. So we are starting our project, a mini project that we have, a counter project, by which I will also guide you the directory structure of React.js. So we just need to write this command, npx create react app. uh, don't mistake it with npm, because sometimes we do that. Create react app, and then any app name that you want to provide. I'm providing counter, then it will download all the packages and like libraries which is necessary to install, or like which is necessary to install or run this counter application that we are building. So it will create a default React.js application. Okay, we are running the 4.0.3, which is behind the latest version. We no longer support your version. Okay, I have two versions of Node.js. That's why it is. Uh, I can switch to the other version. This npm command is used to install the packages which are there. So I can just write create React app. First, I uninstall the older version, and now I'm installing the latest version. This warning will not come in your case, I think, because I'm using the older version of and like create React app. That's why it is giving me that error or that warning. That is not an error, I think. Now creates the same command which was earlier. You can use up and down arrows to switch to like previous commands which you wrote earlier. Now it will download all the packages and it will create the default React.js application. I can see it started creating the folder counter, and then it will install all the packages and all the like libraries which are needed to run a React.js application. So we just need to wait while this is finished. So meanwhile, I can give you overview of this Visual Studio Code. So this is for searching the files which are there or available in your directory. If you are working on application, so you can search for the files by their name in the directory. This is for version control or GitHub. If you want to link GitHub to this directory, you can use it. This is for debugging purposes. If you have some error and you don't know where the error occurs, so you can run this debugger. I've already created a sample like demo video of Visual Studio Code, a tutorial of this Visual Studio Code in the YouTube channel of Codersarts. So you can visit that as well if you want to learn completely about this editor. And then this is a great place, which is extensions. So at this place, you can search for the extensions. Extensions are nothing but additional softwares or additional packages that you can use with Visual Studio Code, and then that will help you in development. So such as we have this beautify, it will reformat your code. Like sometimes we have to give spaces and reformat by ourselves, so it will automatically do that. Similarly, we have other installed, like I have installed all of them, like, but you can search for this one, ES7 plus React Redux React Native extension. This one will help you in let's say we have some commands that will help you okay, so provided the link. So that will help you in writing uh, shortcuts for creating components in React.js. So it will give you, for example, RFCE. If you type that, then that will give you shortcut for creating a component, single functional component. If I'm saying about the RFCE, and then we also have other packages. While in like as you're starting that, so I'll not give you the complete overview. Otherwise, you will say like, what is this? Okay, so you can explore it all the way through. And this is for sharing your code to other developers. If you are working together, so as a by connecting together, you can see the other person's code as well. So you can change the code by your computer as well in the like in this live share option. Then that is for Docker. That is another thing, and then that is black box for AI intelligence for code, writing code, that you don't have to worry about. This will not come by default in your case, I think. Only some of the features will come only. So you see here this node module folder. This is the place where it will install all the packages which it is installing. So it is basically installing React DOM to manipulate the DOM, which I made you understand in that lecture slide. React scripts, it is for running all the script commands like npm start, npm run build, is for that. CRA template, it is for accessing the templates which are there. Then we also have that. So you can see it has added 1422 packages in 4 minutes. So all these packages will be necessary to run this single application. And if we expand this src folder, and the HTML file which I was talking about will be available in this public folder. So basically in the browser, if this file is served, so this index.html file is served in the browser, and in that you can see there is not much code here. This is only the code that we are actually using to manipulate. So we have this root ID here in this div tag, and then we are manipulating this div tag, and we are changing all those components with the help of this index.js command. Like index.js file is the necessary file that is changing. You can see that this JavaScript syntax document.getElementById, by ID, like we use in JavaScript to access elements or HTML elements, and we make changes in that, right? So we use that to render app this app component. So this app component will be the main component that will be in which we'll be writing all the HTML code that will be served. Also, we can create separate components. That is all like that is another thing that we'll be doing. Let me just run this application and show you how it looks by default. So if I just write npm start here to start this application, so this application will be uh, like started in your default browser. What is the case now? It is because I'm using two different. So this error will not come in your case, but I'm using two Node versions. That's why it is giving me this error. So that error will not come in your case. It is coming because I'm using multiple Node.js versions. That's why. So it should start now. Mm, Let me just close it and open it again. This should not happen. npm start. So you can see that it is saying starting in the development server. The error was because of Node.js environment. It will not come in your case because I'm using 3 different versions of Node.js. That's why it was showing me that error. So it will run the default application in the browser. In my case, I'm using Firefox as a default browser, so it is running in that. You can use the same this address in the other browser if you want to run this. You can copy this same address and paste that in the other browser, then that will also open in there. Meanwhile, let's understand this. Let me just show you the preview first. So you can see it is saying React app, and then this GIF image is there, and then this option is there, and then there is a link. So this is the default thing which you will see in your case as well, right? So what is this page? Basically, this page is rendered by this app.js component, and where this app.js is served, it is served in this index.js file. You can see app component, and we are importing app from ./app. So app is the file name which we have. You don't have to put .js because it automatically takes care of that. And then this index.js file manipulates this index.js file manipulates this index.html file, which is available in the public folder. So when you run your when you serve this or host this application, this React.js application, this and index.html will be served to the browser. So basically, if you go into the browser and right click in that, you will just see normal code, right? So we have this root which we saw here in our code. So we have this root div that, and inside that we have this app components HTML files. Basically, that is not HTML, that is JSX. We will understand that. So inside that we have this app div, which is having this app class, and inside that we have header tag. Then we have this image which is rotating. Then we have this p tag. Then we have this a tag. So where this is coming? This is coming from this app.js file, right? So this complete div we have here. So this complete div is served to this index.html file with the help of this index.js file. So this is basically the case. So whenever you will change anything in this code, app.js, so it will be automatically manipulated or added to this index.html file. And if you add multiple components in there, then that will also be served in this index.html file. Now let's focus on changing this app.js file. Let's say if I remove everything in here and the CSS file which we are importing here, import. This is just a normal JavaScript import syntax that you should know. This is how we import anything in the JavaScript. Let's say I'm writing hello React.js. That should be it, right? So, and we don't need logo, so we can remove this, and we can also delete the files which we don't need. And all the other files which I don't mention here, that is for writing test, and that is not needed in our case because we are just getting started. We're not writing any test, right? So in app.css, you can write any CSS code you want to write. Let me just save it, and then this one. Let me just save this app.js as well. So now the content will be changed, and you don't have to refresh the page like you do in HTML. It will automatically be changed here. You can see that hello React.js. So it is changed. Now if you want to change the color of this heading tag, you can just write CSS for that, right? So app.css, and I can write h1. So h1, and color, let's say this color, Arabica purple. So this all this intelligence which you are seeing here, it is all the magic of Visual Studio Code. All these suggestions is coming from Visual Studio Code. So you can see that it is not quite visible. So I will be writing red here, right? So this is basically how you change this app.js file. Now let's focus on our project, which is very simple. We will be creating a simple counter. Let's say I have this one here and I have two buttons. Let's create two buttons. One button is for increment. So I can write increment inside this button tag. Now I can see this app.js is giving me some error. That what is the error? JSX expression must have one parent element. So like in HTML, we can return multiple HTML elements in a body tag, right? But we cannot place two HTMLs inside one uh, div in this here without any parent element. So we cannot return more than one HTML element in this in React.js. So this is not HTML element because it is JSX, JavaScript, XML. Some of the things are changed, but quite of things are similar to HTML. So you can wrap it inside a fragment. This is called a fragment, less than and greater than symbol, and that is also closed. Or otherwise, you can just write a div tag. The size is lesser in this, so we can use this fragment here. So one, and then we can also have another button called decrement. So I want to have these two buttons, which will increment the value inside this heading one, right? Let's see what we get. So you can see we have this one and we have two buttons, increment and decrement. You can style them better. I'm just like focused on the features right now. So we have all these buttons, but right now they don't do anything. We just want to do the thing that if I click on this increment, the number here should increase by one. And if I click on this decrement, so this number should be decreased by one. So how can I do that? It is very simple. First, we need to have a variable which you use in JavaScript, right? But in our case, that is not called a variable because React.js is different from JavaScript properly. So we have a little bit of changes in this. So we create states in here. Think of it as a variable, but we can change it with the help of a function which we get while creating the state. So state is basically will be the value for this or the current value for this inside this number. So inside this heading tag, what will be the value for that number? That will be our state. So for creating that, we can just use this syntax. Inside this array, we have to provide two values. One will be the value of the state, this, like the value of the state, and the other will be the function. In the case of JavaScript, we just reassign the value, right? We have a variable and then we reassign the value. But in this case, we are using state because that is more efficient than using a normal variable, right? So that's why we are using use state. Use state is a hook. Hook means a method returned by React.js to manipulate state. In this case, we are using use state. So this is a hook that lets us create states. So states is nothing but a value or a variable, you can say, that will be changed constantly if we have this method which will be written by this. So we can change it with the help of a method which will be returned by this hook, right? So we can we cannot use anything directly. We have to import it first. So useState is available in React package. So React package is installed in this. We saw while we were installing the project. So we can install it. It is not a default import. So we'll have to use curly brackets here, use state, and then you can see this Visual Studio is also suggesting me that you might be installing or you might be importing this method here or this hook here, right? Use state. So this hook will lets us create the state here. Uh, then we can provide the initial value that we want to render inside this h1. I'm starting it with 1, so we can also start with that. Then in this array, what we want to do is we just have to give a name for this variable that we'll be using in our JSX code, right? So that we can use, let's say, count. Let's say I'm using a count, and then after that, you can name the function that we'll be using to update the value of this count variable or this count state variable, right? So for that we'll be using any name that you want to use. You can name it update count, but the syntax that we follow in React.js is we started with this set keyword or this set, and after that we can name it the variable that we have or the state variable that we have. So we can use set count. You can name it anything, just I'm giving you the general standards that we use while creating the state. So we have this count which will be containing the value. Initially it will be 1, and then we are having this set count method that we'll be using to update this count variable, and then we can show it inside this h1 tab. So to show everything or the variable values inside the HTML or the JSX syntax, you use this curly bracket. Inside this curly bracket, you can provide the variable name that you want to execute the value of. So I can directly use the state variable name, which is count. So in our case, it will be count. So it will be changed by 1. It was already 1, so we'll not see any difference. But if, let's say if I started with 5, so the 5 will be visible there. Let it save. So it will save, and after that you can see it has started with 5, right? Then after that, we can make use of this set count method. This will be used for updating the value of this count, right? So what we want to do is, if somebody clicks on this button, then we want to increment the count value by 1. So what we can do is we can use the events that we also have in JavaScript, like on click, on change. We have all these, like on focus, all these JavaScript methods. But in this, like the syntax or the naming structure is a little bit changed. We use it in a camel casing. Like on change is the C of the first word, like the first word is capital. After the on, after on, the first word or the first letter is capital. So you can use on click because we want to access the click. You can see Visual Studio is also suggesting me all the possible events that we can use. I'll be using on click here, and inside that I can provide any function that we want to use. In my case, I'll be just updating it in an arrow function. You can provide any other function, and then you can, let's say, I'm providing, I can create an arrow function here, handle increment, let's say. This is an arrow function. You can create a normal function as well. So function inside a function. So you can create that way as well. I can provide this function here. So handle increment. Now this handle increment function will handle the button click of this button, this increment button. Now I can set the count by count plus 1. So what I have wrote here is the previous value of count, whatever it is. Let's say in our case it is 5. So 5 will be there, and plus 1 will increase the value by 1. So this is basically what we are doing in this handle increment. Let's check it whether it works or not. If I click on increment, so you can see it is 6, and in the DOM you can also see it is dynamically changing the value of this h1 tag. Let me just click on it one more time. You can see only this is affected, not the complete page is loaded. That is also another benefit of using React.js. It doesn't load the complete page when we update it with the help of JavaScript or with the help of React.js. But in the case of general JavaScript DOM manipulation, it does. So that's why that is a good way. Now, decrement is not working. Similarly, you can decrement that. So I can create one more function, and what we just need to do is we just need to change the name of the function, decrement of handle decrement, and we can just minus by 1. So we can decrement it by 1 similarly, and I can call this handle decrement function in the other button. So this is basically the case. Now both of them will work. So the increment will increment the number by 1, and the decrement will decrement it by 1. Okay, so this is basically the simple project in which we make use of this state variables and events. Similarly, I can create it in a separate component to make it like a separate component. If let's say if I want to use this counter variable in multiple uh, pages, multiple JavaScript pages, that way I can create separate JavaScript file for this only, and then I can import it like we did in the index.js file. We can import it in here as well. So let me just show you that as well. It is just a simple thing. So you can create a folder, or like I can just write directly counter.js. So it will be a component file for me. And the thing is, you just need to create a function. Let's say counter. Why am I using arrow? And then you just have to export it. So export default. That is only the case. Export default function, and then that is counter. And you can return everything which is inside here. So you can copy everything here, you can cut it, and you can paste it inside this file. And obviously you have to import this use state as well. So you can copy the use state from this file to the other counter.js file, which is our component file. So component is nothing but a function that returns some HTML code. In our case, it is JSX, so it is a JSX code. So this will also work. Like if I save it, and if I just return counter, and now I can import this counter function or the counter component function. Counter, it is a default import, so I can directly use it without any bracket. Like I can import it without any bracket. So that will also work. So if I save this file, so it is a more cleaner way to like build this project. If I increment that, so that will also work. Decrement, that will also work. You can also add other components as well. Make sure you wrap them in a fragment or a div tag. So this is from my side. I hope you got some idea about React.js and how cool is it. And if you want to learn more about React.js, we have already created some tutorials, the deep tutorials. You can see that in our YouTube channel as well. And if you want to have mentorship, so you can like get the idea from the uh, like Codersarts other team. So thank you for this webinar, and that's it. So Devjita, I'm handing over to you.
Sure. So you can stop presenting the screen.
So
Yeah, I'll present now. Um, so thank you, Aftansa, for this wonderful session. Now coming back to my part. So remember, everyone, React.js is an exciting and a rapidly growing technology that is transforming the way we build user interfaces. By mastering React.js, you'll be well on your way to becoming a skilled and an in-demand developer. Now I'll be coming to our services which we offer at Codersarts. So here you can see, I'll be repeating once again. We offer live one-on-one session. We work on live projects. We have doubt clearing sessions as well. We also help with interview preparations to freshers and students. We have personalized classes, and we also offer project support. So now that we are done with this webinar, I'll be sharing the link, which is for the certificate. Okay, give me a moment. I'll share the link. Okay, so I've shared the certification link. You just have to fill it up, and we'll provide the certificate to you by tomorrow, or by Monday. So how you can contact us? You can email us at contact@codersarts.com. You can visit our website as well, www.codersarts.com, or you can call us at this number. I'll do one thing. I'll put this in the chat box also, so that you guys can copy it. This is our official email ID. You can send us your queries on our email ID. Uh, our website, yeah, and this is our number. So we'll be doing an Q&A session now. If any one of you have any questions, you can write them up in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question to Aftan. So I'll repeat once again. If any one of you have any questions, okay. So we do have a question. Do I need to be an expert in JavaScript to use React.js? And what are some good resources for learning React.js? So Aftan, could you please answer this question?
So you don't have to be an expert in learning React.js. Like you don't have to know much of the things, but you just need to understand JavaScript well. If you know JavaScript well, then you can switch to any of the framework that is available in the market. In my case, it is React.js. So you can use React.js to learn it. And the best resource to learn React.js is the official documentation of React.js website, React.js, or you can search for that, or you can also get help from Codersarts as well. We also have good mentorship sessions regarding React.js as
Okay. Okay. Mm, I don't think we have any more questions.
well. So,
Okay then. So that would be it from our side. So we'll be ending our webinar here. I hope all of you have enjoyed this webinar. So yeah, we'll be waiting for your queries. Thank you. We'll be concluding here.